Right, so we're back, and this is the Skills Canada Technical Training Guide for Graphic Design. And in this video, we are looking at the correct resolution for images and also the correct saving formats for images. So this is in regards to the quality of the images you're using and also the files, the type of files that you've saved them as. So you'll find this under 1.3 and 1.4 in the marking for the project. This is very, very important. Again, you don't want to create a poster and use a tiny image and find out later that, the pixels are, you can count the pixels or they become so blurry and huge that the design is pretty much useless. So it's very important that you correct your resolution, you have the correct resolution and the correct type of file so that there's not going to be any problems when it goes to print. Now, you will find those specifications inside here, and it's called screening. Okay, so you will see it here as screening, 150 LPI, for the banners, in this case 133. Okay, and the popcorn box 133. And you'll also find, and that's for the resolution, but you'll find the formats right here. Okay, that's under other specifications. So you see that they want a 1-layer TIFF or a 1-layer PSD. Obviously, Illustrator, EPS, those are vector usually. They won't have a resolution, and DCS is another format that you can use as well. So let's talk about what all this means. So if we're first of all talking about resolution, resolution is how many pixels the image contains within an inch of the screen or the display that we're looking at. And so if I open up an image here in Photoshop, the way I can check that is I can go to image size, and you will see the resolution right here. Okay, so for this image, for every inch of this image, there's 300 pixels. And that might sound like a lot of detail, but the problem is when you place an image into InDesign or Illustrator or whatever program you're going to be using to lay it out, oftentimes what people will do is they will place an image like this one right here, and then they will scale it up. They'll increase the size of it and make it larger to fit the design. And the problem with that is that original 300 that you had to start with goes down every time you enlarge it. So let me show you an example. This rider here is probably a high-res image at the size that it was supplied originally. But because it's been scaled up in Illustrator, if I select it and I go to Window, Links, I can see here that down below, this little arrow might actually need to be pulled down for you to actually see this. You might have to click it. It will tell me that the image resolution for this image at that size is only 105 ppi because it's been scaled up. So if I take this image, let's say, and I start scaling it down, let's say I shrink it, you'll notice that it has gone up to 217, and that's because I've shrunk it about half of the size it was before, so it's doubled. All right, hopefully that makes sense, but it's very important that you check. This is called your effective PPI, and you make sure that the effective PPI matches the required resolution that it says within the project. Let me show you another example. If we go into InDesign, same idea. Okay, we've got a design here. We've got a image here on the cover of this pass. Same window. If I go to Window, Links, what I can do is I can click the image I want to talk about or look at, and you will see in InDesign it actually calls it effective PPI. And it shows you right here that the effective PPI of this image is 160. And once again, if I was to take this and scale it down a bit, you would see that the effective PPI goes up because it's getting smaller and there's more pixels within 1 inch of the display at that point. Hopefully that makes sense, but it's very important that these numbers match what, or at least are above what the book says. Okay, now let's say you don't have any images to work with other than what you've been supplied, and they're not going to get any better, and this number's too low. What you can do is you can kind of fake it. And this is not technically correct, but it will get you the mark. You can go into Photoshop, and you can go to the image that's giving you the issue. You can go to image size, and you can turn off resample. And then what you can do in here is increase the resolution and hit OK. What that will do is it will place more pixels within the 1 inch of the image, but it will not add any detail to it. It'll just kind of fake it by adding more pixels. All right, this will appear correct in the design, but if the image is pixelated, it's still going to be pixelated. So you got to be careful for that. Now, as far as saving formats go, if you're building a file in Photoshop and you've got tons of layers, let's say I've got a bunch of layers in here, you'll notice that the specs in the book say you can only have single layer PSD files. So what you would want to do is you'd want to save your working file that has all the layers in case you have to change something. But the one that you would use in the document, you would actually go into your layers panel here. And again, if you don't have it, you go to Window Layers. And you go up in the top right where you see these 4 little lines. And you just flatten your image. And what that will do is it'll put all the layers onto one. And then you can go Save As. Save it as a TIFF or as a Photoshop file, depending on what it requires for the project. And then it'll be saved correctly, and you'll have your 1-layer file. And like I said, I would always save the working file with all the layers in case you have to make any changes. But basically, that's how you would get those points. You need to really, really make sure you check your resolution of the images before you put them in. And once they're in there, you need to make sure that they have enough quality to support the size that you're going up to. And again, the file format's very important because otherwise it may not print correctly.